These two made a movie that finally allowed every AAPI kid to see themselves on the big screen. It was iconic, it was hilarious, and it became the first Hollywood franchise with Asian American leads. You know it, it was Harold and Kumar. Please welcome Cal Penn and John Cho.
Yo,
Guys, what's
what's
up?
up? How you doing?
I'm doing okay. How are you doing?
Yeah, good.
Good. John, how are you?
All right. It's the weather's getting a little rainy outside today, but it's welcome over here, Southern California.
I hear you. Well, this is a pretty fun reunion. Thank you guys for doing this together. Obviously, Harold and Kumar was just the beginning of very long, illustrious, important, and groundbreaking acting careers for both of you. I think a lot of our guests probably know that part of your work. So I really wanted to focus on the work that you both have done to support our communities. And Cal, maybe I could start with you. We both had the privilege to work under President Obama. I served on President Obama's Advisory Commission on Asian Americans and Pacific Islanders. But this was a volunteer. I mean, I was appointed, but I still had my other life. You left a full-time acting career. You took time off from the acting career to serve as Obama's associate director in the Office of Public Engagement. And part of your role was outreach to the AAPI community. And I wanted to ask you, why did you do that? Why was that important to you?
Well, thanks. Great question, and one that I actually feel like I share with a lot of other people. So, it was like 10 years ago, at a time that seems very different now, but, the Obama campaign was in full swing. I went to go and volunteer for the then senator. He ends up winning, and like a lot of people who had worked on his campaign over that year and a half, I had an opportunity to serve our country. So I was sort of like, okay, well, yeah, I'll take a sabbatical from my first love, which I will come back to at some point, and serve in DC. And mostly I worked on outreach to young people and outreach to Asian American Pacific Islander communities. And it was, a priority for the president, that all communities have a seat at the table. And advocates, as you know, have a huge role to play, but so do policymakers. And so he wanted to make sure that there was somebody on his outreach team that was there for the community, just like he had folks who dealt with Irish American community, the rural communities, urban, Latinos. There was literally somebody for everyone. And since the AAPI umbrella is so huge, there are so many different communities within the diaspora, all of which have very different immigration experiences or needs or healthcare. It was an amazing opportunity to both learn and to serve.
I really appreciate what you said about there was something for everyone. Act to Change started as a White House campaign during the Obama administration. We're obviously now our own nonprofit. But I remember that part of the reason this campaign came out of the White House was this idea that there wasn't an anti-bullying campaign that served on focusing the needs of the Asian American and Pacific Islander community for the very specific things Asian American and Pacific Islander kids get bullied for, whether it be their religion or their immigration status or limited English proficiency or the foods they eat, whatever that was. And the White House saw this need and said, there should be something for everyone. And that's how Act to Change started. So I really appreciate you talking about that. John, I voraciously read the op-ed that you penned for the LA Times about the current racism due to the coronavirus. And one of the things that really stood out to me was you said that as a kid, your parents used to tell you to be careful before you'd go outside, and now you feel like you have to tell them that. And I just wanted to talk to you about that, about what compelled you to write the op-ed in the first place, and what kind of impact you hope being vocal around the subject will have.
What compelled me to write that was, that was very true, that we were just it felt like we were getting text messages with, stories of hate from people we knew so much. These stories were circulating. I'm sure you've had the same experience, Cal. I'm going to bet you've had the same experience. And, we just knew a lot of people who were calling their parents and saying, take special care out there because those are the people we worry about the most. And it occurred to me that it was so backward and so it was so non-progressive. You'd think that our parents would be protecting us and we would be protecting our children, but rather we had to go back and sort of make sure our parents were okay. It felt bizarre and strange and worth speaking up about. And for me, what I wanted to accomplish was I felt that the issue of hate crimes toward Asians is complicated by our model minority status and our supposed model minority status, and it makes people think that hate towards Asians is not a big deal, that it's trivial, that it's not very widespread, and that basically we can handle it because we're supposed to be successful and stuff. And so I thought it was a complicated subject and thought that writing it out was the best way to do it.
I appreciate that. And I appreciate you touching on the model minority myth and this idea that all of our communities are okay. And, I spoke to Helen Zia. We played, I had to record her earlier because she couldn't be here live. And so we played the video at the top. And one thing that we didn't get to play, we had to cut into the interview a bit, but she talked about the fact that that the racism against Asian Americans is so damaging because not only is it emotionally damaging, but Asian Americans are actually doctors and scientists like working on solving cures. And so we need to let them do their work, and if we're literally like bashing people and having to be take care of people and make sure that they're safe just to go out in the world, then what impact does that have on their contributions to our society? So I really appreciate you saying that. One of the things we talk a lot about with anti-bullying work and at Act to Change is forming allies. And I was also struck, John, in your piece, you talked about the two of you being on press tour for this movie for Harold and Kumar, and you watching Cal getting frisked at airport after airport. And it was such an interesting moment for me in that article because I feel like over time, various segments of the Asian American community have been targeted for different reasons. And that was a moment where people who look like Cal were being targeted. And this is a moment where people who look like you are being targeted, but we're one community. I would just love to hear both of you talking about what it's like to see the other go through something and what allyship means to you. And John, if you want to kick us off, and then we can cut back to Cal.
Well, I'll start with this. Cal and I spoke not long after, and I think, Cal, correct me if I'm wrong, you'd said it affirmed your memory of that. you wondered whether as the years went on, whether you were misremembering it, yeah?
Yeah, so John and I did not speak about his op-ed until after it came out. And like you, Malik, I read it and loved it and shared it with everybody. And we talked after, and I was like, listen, man, that memory of that press tour, I have been carrying around with me thinking to myself, did it really happen like that? Was it really at every airport? Maybe I'm remembering it wrong, because at the time it was, when you're going through it, it is obviously something that deeply affects you. At the same time, we were trying to go around the country to promote this movie. So, you're promoting a comedy, you're trying to not let other things bring you down. You realize, what's going on. And so I mean, thank you for it's just a weird thing, right? Like we tend to try to rationalize things over time and maybe tell ourselves that it wasn't actually what it was, but it definitely was.
Well, also it's sort of an example of something that I tried to touch upon in the article, which was like, you think you're safe because, and I think that, maybe your self-doubt was exacerbated by the fact that you felt such conflicting things in the moment, which was, here we were, two men of color, headlining a film and going on a big time press tour, and it felt like such a high moment. And then, you got a gut punch. And for me, it had the opposite reaction, which was, it was seared into my memory, because I thought to myself, oh, this is interesting. You think it's this, but it's this. And yeah, it it sure as hell happened. I just remember also every time you were searched, they would say it's a random search, and I was thinking, Cal, if this happens, if the random happens this regularly, we got to go to Vegas.
Oh my gosh. Well, thank you guys so much for being here, and I think just sharing your own experiences and also being vocal for our communities is so important. It's such a lesson to young people. I remember my time at the White House, and one of the things we really tried to focus on was Asian Americans are not often taught to pursue careers in politics. But we definitely need that kind of representation. And so having both of you being vocal and putting our stories out into the world is so important. We're so
Question. Who was the president while you guys served?
The president of all time, President Barack Obama.
His name is Obama? Obama.
Yeah,
Obama.
You know him, John. You know this guy.
You've probably heard of him.
Look up some just Google his name. You'll see.
Okay.
Hey, do you guys want to stay for a second and say a quick hello to our next guest? I haven't done this yet, but I think we can do it. Do you guys know Padma Lakshmi?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah,
hey, Padma.
Hi. Oh no, wait, you're muted. There you are. Can you say it again?
Hi.
Me, I'm Padma Lakshmi.
Hi, thank you so much for being. I just wanted to get you guys a chance to all say hello to each other, and then I'm going to kick these guys out so I can talk to you. But I just wanted you guys to all say hello. Thank you so much for being here.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
My pleasure. Hi, Cal. How you doing?
Good. How are you?
I'm great. I am fine. I'm just ready to not be with my family for a couple of days.
Well, we're all loving your cooking and drinking videos. I have to say, all of your instas are pretty great.
Thank you. I'll try and do more. Nice to meet you, John.
Nice to meet you, Padma.
They're so good. All right, John and Cal, thank you so much for stopping by today.
Thanks, Malik.
Thank you.
Take care.